Hello and welcome everyone. We are live after the final round of the 2024 AFL Fantasy season. I am your host and AFL Fantasy Fanatic, Tim Guest. You can find me on socials at Tim Guest AU. For those listening on the pod, it's Sunday, the 25th of August. And a massive thanks to all of those joining us live. And look, massive shout out. It's the last show of the year. If you joined us at any time live during the year, thanks a lot for joining us. Thanks for liking. Thanks for giving us a review. And if you haven't done that, this is an opportunity to do that, right? So thanks a lot, guys. And smash the like button if you're watching on YouTube. Guys, if you do want a question answered, simply comment below and we'll get to as many as we can. But we're going to have a pretty quick pod tonight, considering it's the end of the year. Now, joining me, as always, is my co-host and AFL Fantasy Fanatic. It's Bails DT. You can find him, of course, everywhere at Bails TT. Mate, it's over. It's been a long time. What is it, 9 months of bloody preseason content? Even more, 10 months? Oh, God knows, right? Here we are at the end of the season. How was it? How did it wrap up for you, mate?
It's just I remember it's been a frustrating second half of the year, to be honest. And don't get me wrong, people are going to say you've had a good year, Bales. It's been good, like 806 overall is still good, top 1,000. Like with how competitive the field is these days, I'm decently happy. And probably in a week, you asked me in a few days or a week or whatever, I'll probably be pretty happy with it. But looking back at it, it's just been a frustrating second half of the year. Haven't been able to make any ground on top 100. Few sort of 50-50 calls. Sweet to cherry will forever be the probably nail in the coffin from this year. But hey, I won a DT Shiver final, so I'm going to get a few $100 at least from the season. So that will be better than, I guess, a couple of other people out there. So which is I'll definitely take. And pretty happy to get the draft win. So but yeah, on to AFLW fantasy now. The doesn't rest for me. I'm still going. EPL fantasy, AFLW, NFL will start soon. Full systems go still for me.
Awesome, mate. Awesome. Well, good year, mate. Good year. You one of the things you said right at the beginning of the year was that you're going to back yourself, and you did that, and it showed through. I mean, obviously, you had a great year in terms of the Content Creators Cup. You had a great year in terms of your overall ranking, and of course, you were pumping out content like no one's business, right? So, just great work all around, mate. And I think I echo the community when I say that you built a lot of respect in the community this year. So great year, mate, and we're looking forward to see what happens next year.
Thank you.
All right. Well, speaking of Content Creators Cup and people that did well this year, it's the champion. It's Ball Boys AFL. Well, I don't know. It's the champion. Now you got bloody two champions. Jesus Christ! I don't know how we're going to deal with this. Luke Rojo 17, you can find him there, mate. How are you feeling? What a win, hey?
Yeah, it was good. It's been a week now since the big final with Bails, and like I said to you before jumping on it, it went down to the wire, and there was not too many uniques in our matchup, so it kind of went down to a couple of players and a couple of choices. And I said on our podcast earlier on Friday, should I say, that it comes down to a lot of luck. I mean, like to win it from 7th position at the end of the year, that you have to have a few things go your way. But lucky enough to win it, and appreciate everything that you do to make it happen as well.
Mate, well, I'm echoing right back at you. Like, appreciate all the support of the Ball Boys. I mean, you guys shout it out every week. I'm just really appreciative of all the support that you guys give to it as well, and and glad that we can be a part of giving back and making a difference. So, mate, who is your charity of choice?
Yeah, so Red Nose Australia is charity of choice, and so it's essentially the old SIDS for kids. Sudden infant death syndromes, obviously, having kids yourself, Guesty, and me now having a small daughter, you just, unimaginable to think of that sort of thing. That's a reality for some families around Australia. So anything that we can do to not only raise awareness, but then, a little bit of money to help that research, I think is a good thing.
Mate, very well deserving charity, well chosen, mate, well chosen. So, what do you reckon next year, mate? How do you think? Look, talk us through it actually, like, because you felt relatively new to fantasy, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, like a lot of, I have to acknowledge my partner in crime, because a lot of my sort of fantasy thinking and strategy and even just like week to week decision making is influenced by Mitch. I think it's no secret that he's the brains behind the operation, and I'm just along for the ride. So I get any ideas that I have, I'm bouncing them off him during the week, and like I said, just over the last 3 years of playing, a lot of the way I think about it is based on his philosophies and whatnot. So I kind of, lucky enough to get the head-to-head championship. But I think the proof's in the pudding, given that he won both last year and won the overall again this year.
All boys dynasty, as you guys said on the pod.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the thing that's most cool about it is not necessarily this individual win here, but the fact that it's 4 from 4 at the moment. So yeah, pretty cool.
So how did Mitch end up?
I think he was just texting me before. I think barring any sort of like late adjustments, I think he's finished 16th. So
yeah, 16th. Yeah.
I don't think I was going to say sort of like peek behind the curtains to the roller coaster that is Mitch Casey, but I don't think it's a peek behind the curtains when every single thought goes on Twitter anyway. But I think he was a little bit disappointed that he couldn't hold on to that top 10 position. But had you asked him at the start of the season, like, you're going to finish top 20 and win a hat, he would have been over the moon. So, I think he's pretty chuffed.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it might take a little while for that to sink in. He might just be dealing with the disappointment right now, but absolutely, yeah. And look, I mean, once again, from my point of view, and I'm sure from the community's point of view, it was just great to be able to, get that insight and kind of ride along, on the inside with Mitch the whole time and see how it goes. I mean, was any particular takeaways for you this year, mate, in terms of your fantasy?
Oh. It's early on. I haven't really reflected. I think I've been a little bit like you in the sense that as it starts to wind down, you kind of, especially when your team, in terms of my overall ranking, like my overall ranking wasn't doing too much over those last couple of weeks. So you start to get to that point where you're thinking, okay, I need a bit of a break from fantasy as well. I haven't really had a great deal of time to kind of reflect on the season that was. But I will over the next couple of weeks. So
sure, mate. Sure. Well, once again, great season, mate. Great choice of charity, and Infinite Wealth are very proud to be able to make that difference, and we'll donate on your behalf. I don't know if we'll see if we can get a photo op or something from them like it. Normally you get a certificate or something like that, but we'll get you something to acknowledge, obviously, your contribution, mate. So great job.
I appreciate it, mate. Thank you very much. Awesome,
mate. Well, just for people's, if people are curious, I'll round up my list. I had a 25-51, massive week in the last week. I'm not exactly sure how I managed that because I have been checked out for a couple of weeks. Finished just outside the top 5,000. So yeah, pretty disappointing year. I mean, that's probably the worst year in. Oh, I haven't looked, but I'm telling myself it's a long time. But it doesn't matter. Look, a bit of a quick takeaway for me, I guess. I think maybe I just got a bit cocky. Maybe I thought I was doing maybe a bit ahead of where I was, and I just I went with too many mid prices this year, and I think that just burned me. Too many of them failed, and it was too hard to change them all. And by that time you're too far back. So there were Bails. You might even remember better than me, but the Carl Amons, John Newcomb. Oh my God, John Newcomb! I completely wiped him from my memory. But a couple of decisions like that just burnt me.
Like I said, it's too early to think about it. I guess you just park it.
Yeah. Look, it was another great. I mean, it's a game I love playing. It's a game I love immersing myself in. So another great year, and it's been great doing the podcast as well. All right, Bails, why don't we? Am I missing anything? Do we want to do +3, -3s? Are we kind of?
I guess we can just quickly wipe through sort of plus for the year, maybe for the year.
I'll give Isaac Heaney my -3. I copped my first donut of the year, so.
Oh, a donut in the last round of the year.
You can have my -3.
Yeah, all right, Bails, -3 for you.
For the round, it's a bit hard to give it to Tom Stewart.
What happened to Tommy Stewart?
He got if it was a normal game, he would have played. He just got, I think he got like a corky in the back of his leg, and because they were up by 10 goals so early, they just thought, no, there's no point. So, and again, that's probably another learning that probably I didn't really look at it too much. I had Humphries on the bench trying to get a bit cute, trying to loop him and get a better score over Young, instead of just maybe looping a Tom Stewart, maybe adjusting trades and stuff. But wouldn't have mattered anyway because with Heaney being out. But -3, I think it's got to go to Connor Rosie, 73. Like in a game where it was a big game for both teams, trying to get a home final. The captain doesn't stand up, and I'm sure we'll go through in a second, like sort of who won Fantasy Classic and how our mate Tom went. But I think Tom will be pretty annoyed at Connor Rosie as well as another Freo midfielder, unfortunately.
All right. For me, I'll give my -3 to Jai Caldwell, 71. I think he was my worst score on field apart from Tommy Stewart's 26. So, I'll give it to him. +3s, Luke?
Well, even though trading in Noah Anderson meant that I was sort of locked out, and that was what resulted in the Heaney donut, I was pretty happy with the 126 trade in. So he saved that score late too. So Noah Anderson can have one this week.
Bob?
Here's a couple. Extra probably shout out to Zach Merritt for his first 140 plus score of the season coming in the final week. So made up for that 60 odd that he got last week. But I've actually got to give mine to a guy I was actually keen on, probably from like round 8, and I brought in about a month ago, and he's gone over 115 every game. That's Nick Newman. I know Mitch got in a bit earlier than I did. Around the time Mitch was saying I was a few weeks even before that, I was just like, I'm looking at this guy. He's got St Kilda last round. He's got some good fixtures to come, and he's done it again. Did it last year, done it this year with some big scores and none bigger than the 152 against St Kilda in a great matchup. So he's definitely got to get it for me.
Yeah. Well, once again, shout out for me to Lockie Whitfield, who did 147, but I'm going to give it to Nick Dacos on Friday night, smashed out that 157. I imagine there could have been a number of people out there that might have put the VC on him if they were brave, and would have been massively rewarded. He was just junking it up like you wouldn't believe. So,
should have given him my -3.
Yeah, hard to go past.
Didn't take any of those bloody little short chip marks when I owned him. Unbelievable.
Yeah. All right, mate. Well, they're the +3, -3s. What are we going to do next? Actually, let's just do a quick final thing on the Content Creators Cup for the year. The AFL Fantasy Content Creators Cup, proudly brought to you by Infinite Wealth. Make smarter financial decisions where winning coaches will get $5,000 for their favourite charity. Now, the reason why I'm doing this is just because we got that live event next Saturday, the 31st of August at the Clanfield. It's a one-day intensive event. 8:30 in the morning registration, 9 a.m. start, finishes at 6 p.m. sharp. If you want to come, you've got to register. To get a ticket, head to infinitewealth.com.au/AFL Fantasy. If you've registered there, we would have sent you an email, probably a text message or something along those lines. If you haven't heard from us, just reach out and I'll make sure that you get a way to register for the event. Once again, this is an event. This is an event that people pay $1,500 to attend. So AFL Fantasy coaches are getting a free ticket so they can come and observe for the day. If it's something that interests you, head along to infinitewealth.com.au/AFL Fantasy to claim and for more details. All right. We said we weren't going to do a huge amount today, Bails. We said we'd recap our scores and rank from the final round, chat some big scores from the round.
Yes, we could do it. But I guess before we do that, probably just recap sort of the overall sort of standing. So with who won. So congrats to we got unfortunately Tom went down in the final round. He finished second, but it's actually Chris Burnham who got the job done, which is no idea. And if you look at his team, he's got 24 premiums. So and his team value is insane. It's over 23.3 million there. So shout out to him for getting the job done with a massive final round. He scored a 25.46 to get the job done. And he won by just under 47 points. He got the job done by. So congratulations to Chris, who, and funny enough, Tim, and Luke, I don't know if you boys know this, but he's the brother-in-law of the great and one only Selby Lee Steer. Remember his Magic?
Yeah, I'm going to have to put an inquiry in to see if Selby's got any sisters I might be able to date so I can get in on that secret sauce.
I think you're a bit deep where you are, mate.
Maybe I'm committed. Yeah.
Yeah, so unbelievable. But congrats to him. Whether we might grab him on at some point, he's got obviously he's busy man tonight, obviously after winning Classic. But if we don't get him on, I'm sure we'll hear from him at some point in the near future. But congrats to him, and obviously Tom, even though he went down and he still finished second. So congrats obviously to him. It's been an amazing season from Tom, considering that he's only been living in the country for a few years. So it's been fantastic to see that. And for any one out there that's only just got into fantasy a year or two ago, that just shows that if you just have a good year, it can all work out for you. You can have a great year. So shout out to Tom there as well. And obviously,
just to add on that, right? Like, I mean, once again, he was really willing to kind of share his team and his trades and all that kind of stuff. Like, he was willing to kind of share it with the community and let people kind of come along for the ride. So, I think there's something really to be said for that. So, friend of the show, he's obviously been on up with us a couple of times, and we commiserations that you didn't take it out, mate. But obviously, congratulations on such a great year.
Yeah, exactly. And then obviously we mentioned before as well, Mitch being 16th, which is a great finish as well. So shout out to Mitch.
On you, Mitch. Great year, mate. Great year.
We won't hear the end of it.
But yeah, cool. All right. Well, we'll go through some big scores. Do we want to go through just the scores of the round, or do you go through sort of game by game quickly and recap some of the scores? What do you reckon?
Just massive scores. I mean,
just
I don't think
scores. Yeah, cool.
People won't really be interested in a round review at all, mate. But, maybe
cool.
Just do the top 10 big scores or something like that.
Yeah, cool. We'll do the top 10 big scores, and there was some very big scores this round. So Nick Dacos was number one for the round, scoring 157 points. He went absolutely massive with a lot of marks. And as I said, couldn't have done that when I owned him. But congrats to everyone that had him out there. He was owned by, obviously, a lot of people there. Nick Newman, 152 with 17 marks. He was massive in the game today. So there, and he finished off the season again like he did last year. So at least we know next year, let's grab Nick Newman when there's about 6 weeks to go. So Zach Merritt, season high score for him with a 149. He was very good against Brisbane and did everything he could to try and get them over the line in the final round. Lockie Whitfield continued his fantastic season there with 147 points, average of 111.7. Definitely been one of the best picks of the year, and only once under 100 since the bye. So fantastic season from Lockie Whitfield there. Tim Taranto, a name to put down the black book for next year, scored 145 in this game against Gold Coast. He was very, very good. So he's going to be a guy that's priced at 95.5, someone that you got to put on your watch list. Nick Blakey against the Crows. That was just, another Crows game, typical Crows game. 141 though for Blakey, did very, very well there. We're all the draft coaches that jumped on him. Lockie Neal, 139 points. So he was huge in the last game, had a massive second half as well. Someone I was looking at until Heaney was laid out. Then that sort of went down the drain. Pat Lipinski, 139, a bit of a name from last year in the preseason. We're looking at, it was last year or the year before, won the last couple of years. He was very good and would have helped draft coaches. Josh Dacos, 137, could be a name to watch at some point next year as a defender, potentially playing off that half back. So he was very good there. So that's 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. So, and then Will Ashcroft was number 10. He's got 136. So he was fantastic as well. And funny enough, the top 10 scorers all went over 130, and then Langford was at 11 for 129. So a lot of good scores in the 120s, 110s. A lot of prems going well, but there were a few prems, unfortunately, that let us down in the final round. So they're the top 10 scorers from the round, Tim.
Mate, I did think worth shouting out, and these guys might have really helped people with the week as well, considering Heaney was laid out. But Jai Simpkin, 121, and Matthias Philippou, 119. And speaking of people put in your black book, I think Matthias Philippou is going to be probably one of the first people going in my team next year.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you reckon he'll keep his forward status?
Well, it sounds like it. People are saying he'll be a mid forward next year, so I think he's
going to be locked in, one of the first players for most teams, I think. Yeah,
exactly. So, but yeah, they were the top 10 scorers from the round. Do we want to chat? What else do you want to chat through, Tim? Because we got, funny enough, I just got a message from Chris who'll be jumping on in about 15 minutes or so. So we'll be able to chat to the winner of Fantasy Classic in about 15. So what do you want to chat about in the next 15 minutes?
Would you want to go through takeaways for the year, mate?
Yeah, cool. Well, actually, we'll go through sort of. Firstly, I'll give you boys a bit of time. I want to know how many players you actually have got from your starting squad in your current squad now. But I'll start though with Luke. Though, who would you give your fantasy MVP to? It doesn't have to be the best player of the year. It could just be someone that you started with or someone you brought in or something like that. But who would get you a fantasy MVP for the year?
Fantasy MVP. I think I'm actually going to give it to Lockie Whitfield.
Yeah.
I think he was an interesting one because there was a patch there in the middle of the season where we thought it was kind of going downhill, and it was right before I think I might have even been speculating on moving him. That I hung on to him, and he just had that steamy second half to the year. So he might even be. Did I start with Whitfield? Yeah, we'll get to that part in a sec. But yeah, he'd be my fantasy MVP at a pinch.
Yeah, no, he had a very, very good season. Tim, who would be your fantasy MVP?
Mate, I mean, it's pretty hard to pick for me considering my rabble of a team. But I think despite the laid out and maybe even despite the later part of the season, Isaac Heaney was, I think he was a real 50-50 call for a lot of coaches in round one. May have been because, obviously we weren't sure that this, mid-roll was going to be real. I mean, we've heard it, come up so many years before. And of course, he also had the early buy round as well. So I think, coaches were really torn on whether to jump on him or not. I think he was someone that I decided to go ahead with. And, obviously he had such a blinding start at the beginning of the year as well. So not that I had a great year, but I imagine coaches that did have a great year, I imagine Isaac Heaney was probably a big part of it.
Yeah, no, he's very, very good. And yeah, Whitfield and Heaney were definitely a couple of guys for me that would be up there. But I'll give mine to Nick Martin. So a lot of us started him in our midfields, and usually past years we've gone, don't know if I want to be starting a guy just because he's going to get sort of another position added in 6 weeks. But he's been incredible, averaging 107.2. I don't think we probably would have said he's going to average 107. We're probably thinking if he can go 95 and even a little bit more, then that'd be a great starting pick, being a bit cheaper. But he's been great, particularly the last 3 weeks of the season as well. He's gone over 120 in every game. Played 100% game time in all 3 of those games as well. So just showing an ability to just not come off the ground, but also cover just so much distance as well, like getting forward, kicking goals. And it didn't really matter what position he played in. He was able to score up forward, in defence, on a wing. It didn't really matter. So I know a lot of people did trade him out sort of because in the back half of the year between rounds 15 and 21, he only went over the ton once. That was a big 140 when he had like a 60-point last quarter. But yeah, for me to keep him for the whole year, I was very, very impressed with him. So, very happy with him. But yeah, look, hey?
Nick Martin too the whole year.
Yeah, he's a very, very good pick. So, Luke, how many players from your starting team did you have in the final round?
Oh, you're testing my memory, which is at times absolutely garbage.
If you go on the phone app, you just go back to round. You just go to round one, and then you just look.
Can I? Yeah, okay. No, I think Whitfield. I think I started with Whitfield, and I think he's actually the only player because I didn't start with Sherry. I traded back to him in that first week when a lot of us went away from Grundy. I think it might have been. Yeah,
I'm a bit the same. I think I'm not sure.
Maybe.
I think Jack Steele I had in my side the whole year, but apart from that, it might be Lockie Whitfield, and that was it.
Yeah, I had the 4. So I'd
Harry Barnett at R3.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Are you counting Zach Reed and the likes?
No, just the other ones. But Zach Reed's been stuck in my team as well for the whole year. But no, so I had the 4. So Lockie Whitfield stayed in my team for the whole year, along with Hayden Young. That was, tried to get off in the back half. He just other trades, just other importance. I obviously started with the Bont. So that's been a very much roller coaster this year. Safe to say, I don't think I'll be starting with a midfielder priced too expensive next year after it's burnt me now back-to-back years. Bont and Laird there, and even I started with Dawson. He was a bit up and down as well, but even though he finished the year strong. Obviously, Nick Martin was there as well. And then I will count Heaney. I know I traded him in this last week, but if it wasn't for laid out, I would have had him the whole year. So they're the 4. But yeah, obviously a few players here that traded out through injury that I would have liked, like a Sheasel starter with. Like Jack Steele, I wanted back in at some point, just couldn't bring him back in. gone. Obviously, we traded him after the 2 rucks, and then Zach Fisher as well, who didn't go too great this week, but he was pretty good in a couple of the last few weeks. So, but we got a couple of super chats here. So Tim Ashworth, thanks, mate, says, are you guys doing AFL finals tipping? I probably will, but I think that the 2 boys will probably be taking a break from all football, tipping, anything related. Am I correct in saying that?
I've still got a work tipping competition that goes through the finals.
Oh, cool. Whereabouts are you ranked on that, mate?
Number 1 at the moment. It's the first year I've never won my work footy tipping competition in bloody 14 years of having the business, and I'm leading by two points at the moment. So hopefully I can take it out.
What's the prize?
Oh, just a bit of cash. That's not well. I'll probably be putting it on the bar. If the boss wins it, right, the boss has got to put it on the bar, right? So it doesn't really matter what the prize is.
Yeah, and Luke, you're taking a hiatus from tipping and stuff and fantasy.
Yeah, I'm done. It'll be like my presence on Twitter, absolutely zero.
Ghost, it's gone.
Yeah, smoke bomb.
Corey Badge got a super chat here as well. So just saying, had a great round. Only went Archer to Newman and Humphreys to a Port rookie to Luke Taranto for Young, but just missed out on the top 10K. So, but no, good trades in last week, Corey. So I know you're doing AFLW Fantasy, mate. So hopefully you can get a hat in the upcoming season, mate. But appreciate the super chat there. And HP's got a super chat as well. So thank you very much for this, mate. He says, cheers to the content this year, boys. Finished 103, equal 101. 2 points off the hat. I'm very angry right now. That's and he just off the also the unlucky mug as well for 101. So, mate, it's a great year. But yeah, unfortunately, people are going to finish there. So, condolences, mate. But cracking year though. 103 is still a very, very good ranking. Regardless, there.
Circling back to fantasy MVPs, someone we've probably forgotten about a little bit, just because we all would have traded him out a little while ago. But Riley Bonner.
Yep. Yeah, he was good this year, but he's sort of the bitter taste in the mouth at the end, a bit like Tom Powell. Sure. Like Tom Powell was so good at the start of the year. So they were very, very good there. But I guess Tristan Cherry is going to get the full-on fantasy MVP. Yeah. Just an amazing year going up in price. But we are joined by a very special guest now. We're joined by the number 1 coach in AFL Fantasy Classic, Chris Burnham. Mate, congrats on the win.
Thanks, guys. Thanks so much.
You come on your way home from the Freo game, are you, mate?
I'm just coming back from the Freo game, so I look.
You look really upset for a Freo fan.
So yeah, 20% devastated about the game, 80% amazed about the result.
Congratulations, mate! Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congrats. Now we're hearing as well through the grapevines that you might be a brother-in-law to a certain fantasy royalty as well.
So it's pretty handy having him around. So Selby is my brother-in-law. So it's funny, obviously always have a chat about the fantasy sort of thing, but for a while he would just be like, oh yeah, I think you should, that sounds like a good idea sort of thing. And he was not having any part. And then suddenly when I got to the top 5, he was like, oh, maybe we should chat more. So there was a fair bit of chat going on. But it was a lot of fun.
Oh, cracking you, mate. Well, take us through, I guess, the final weekend, how sort of all the scores were coming in and probably a bit nervous. How'd the final round go for you?
Well, so I was already locking in Jez Cameron, I think, unfortunately, like everybody else in the comp. But I traded out Simpkin, who ended up getting 121 anyway, so 0 net effect. But I think all the impacts of Heaney, if we'd known Heaney was going to be out sooner, it might have changed the decision. I think that the thing was as well that I was actually originally trading out Peatling and would have Simpkin on the bench. So there was a whole lot of things going on. It was. And then the other one was I was going to try and match the other boys and go get Rosie. And then, like Selb said, he goes, don't do that. Because if you match them, you're reducing your ability to actually catch the guys ahead. So I was looking at numbers and I was like, well, Anderson's the man, surely. He's playing Richmond. He should go well. And I think, was it the first 13 minutes of the game? I think he was on 0 or something like that. And I'm like, I've made a big mistake here. Why have I gone this one? I've gone so rogue. and then he came home like an absolute freight train. Then today, obviously, well, the Peatling thing, so that was great. So it meant I could move Peatling into the forward line. And then when all the announcements came out about no Bedford, so I was like, well, Treloar's not going to get tagged now. Surely they can't let Bontempelli run around getting 30 and 3, so they'll put time into him. So I looped Bontempelli. And then 10 minutes into that first quarter, and you've got Treloar goes down in the rooms, boot off, getting strapped, and there's me going, great, I've got Treloar on the ground, and I've got Bontempelli sitting on the bench, so I'm going to end up with a 14. So by then I went into the garden and started doing some gardening, because I thought I can't handle this. And then, unbelievably, he kept it going, and then...
Oh, we might lose him if he's heading into the Perth tunnel system, right? So we might be losing him.
While you get Chris back, guys, I might sneak off. Thanks so much for everything throughout the year, guys. Appreciate the support. And Chris, if you can hear me, congratulations, buddy. Enjoy the win.
Thanks, guys.
You sneak off.
Beautiful.
Okay.
Thanks, Luke.
Take care, guys.
See you next year.
Hey, with us, Chris?
Yeah.
We lost him.
No, we lost him. I'll miss you back if he wants to jump back on, but that was funny. Him getting on with the train. I'll just miss you here, but
we were saying goodbye to Luke. We were saying goodbye to him. I think that's what he thought.
Yeah, I think that's what he thought as well. Hang on, I'll just say we are still going. We were saying goodbye to Luke. Goodbye to Luke. That's funny. Goodbye to Luke. There we go.
He might have his hands full as it is, mate. He's got his daughter there with him, and like if he heads into that Perth tunnel system as well, like there's no way we'll have him.
Yeah, I just said if you want to jump back on, feel free. If not, all good, mate. We still got to chat to the winner of Fantasy Classic. So,
exactly,
but I guess we'll just quickly chat through before if we'll see if he comes back or not. But just Tim, sort of learnings from the year. I guess what have you sort of obviously having a tricky year in fantasy? What have you learned from this year and going to take into next year?
I'm not sure if I've got I talked before about going to mid-pricer, and I actually remember the moment I was sitting there, and I think the other thing it was is I just liked the way my team looked a bit better with those mid-prices in it, and I was kind of it was a little bit riskier than what I would normally do with my starting side. I like to play it pretty safe with my starting side. But I went, no, I'm going to go for it, and, I looking back, I kind of regret that moment. Apart from that, not much I've learned because, like I said, I haven't really kind of reflected too much. I mean, I can definitely look back at some mistakes that I made. Not going Gorn was a massive mistake for me early on in the year. And look, I mean, I don't know that I should have known better because I was going to run with oh my god, Cherry and Grundy, and the other thing that I did was I ended up hopping off both of them pretty early as well, just trying to make things happen, and it just didn't work for me in the end. So, look, Gorney just came out of the blocks and had such a stunning start to the year. He just put such a gap in terms of where I was and where the top 100 was, before too long. And like I said, having too many mid-prices on the field and having too many other problems to deal with, and I mean, that's the other thing I'll actually do. I mean, I'm looking back at my round one side now. Sheasel, that worked out to be a good pick. Whitfield, good pick. Hayden Young. I mean, what's his price now? I mean, what was his starting price?
Who's that, Hayden Young?
Yeah.
Well, it's $7.59, and obviously we'll drop a tiny bit, but obviously there's no fantasy next week. So $7.59, it's probably not that much more than what he started at, right? Like I'm just. So I've actually So he started at actually he started 805. So
yeah, so he dropped in price. So
yeah.
That turned out to be he turned out to be a bit of a dud pick for the year. Christian Salem, we didn't talk about him before. Remember we thought he was going to make that move into the midfield, and he kind of did, and I think he got injured, and then went to half back and still wasn't scoring. Got injured again. I mean, he was just a dud pick. Elliot Yeo was a great pick for the most of the year as well, wasn't he? Was it the guys that we hopped off him?
No, there was. Wasn't he out at some point? Was it suspension or something?
Oh, that's right. It might have been a suspension.
I felt like there was something that meant he was out, and people said it was just a good time to trade him anyway. Or was he out? Maybe out because of wasn't there a death in the family or something as well that he was out for? That we had to trade him out. There was a reason why it wasn't injury. I know there was just a reason that we got rid of you. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
I can't remember. It was that long ago.
Jack Williams, another no-nothing pick. Jack Steele, he stayed in my side all year. Joe Newcomb, dud. Kyle Amon, dud.
Well,
Nick Martin.
Just with Zach Williams, it just shows that I think that the thing we got to remember is regardless of how good they might look in opening round or whatever, if they don't play preseason, they don't have much of preseason. We just can't pick them.
That's a really good, it's a really good takeaway.
Just doesn't work. Like Wayne Miller got us a few years ago. We thought that he got a 70 in, and he had the sort of the early buy that we thought, okay, it's a bit cheap, we get away with it, but it just would have been better starting with a defender rookie instead of him on the field. Like we had like Blake Howes on the bench. It would have just been easy just to have him at D6.
Yeah. Ollie Wines, Riley Bonner, Sanders, Matt Roberts, Grundy, Cherry.
Very good. Well, Roberts will be one that we'll look at obviously next year.
Yeah, he'll be. Yeah, exactly right. Riley Sanders maybe as well, depending on. I mean, it's probably going to be a very awkward price at that 500 mark. Look, I mean, Grundy and Cherry. I mean, Grundy. I think the commentators talked about what a great year he had, but I'm a bit.
I think he had a better impact for Sydney than what he did for our fantasy teams. Like he had a good impact for Sydney. They both finished top, but in terms of like as a starting pick, obviously the starting pick was Gawn and Cherry, and that opening round would have stuffed a lot of coaches up, right? Because opening round, Grant looked pretty good. Gawn didn't look great, and there was rumours about a potential sort of nigger who's carrying the season. People jumped off him and went Grundy Cherry, and then Gawn was the one that started off like amazing. So it would have been that one where if you started Gawn and Cherry, which was mine and a lot of other people's combo heading into the season, that was obviously the winning ticket, really.
Yeah. Then forward line was Jackson, Heaney, Fisher, Jordan, Sexton, and Darcy Wilson.
Yeah. Baden Cummins Green saying Yo was injured, so he must have been injured. So yeah, it was that long ago I couldn't remember, but he was out at some point. We just said it was a good thing to trade out of him. So then like looking at mine, obviously Sheezer was a good pick. I was pretty happy with him. Whitfield obviously was a great starting pick. Young, obviously we said that just would have been better if we just went either someone that was up more or sort of someone that's a bit cheaper. Salem, a bit annoying. Yo was a good starting pick. Obviously, we talked about Zach Williams. Bont and Dawson, it just shows that regardless of how much cash you've got, I'd spare cash to go those more high-priced mids, but it just would have been better to just start maybe like a Butters at M1 or someone a bit cheaper, even if it was a Jack Steele at M1, just starting these mid-priced midfielders. We've got plenty of them next year, so there definitely won't be any lure me into doing that. Jack Steele obviously was a good starting pick. He was pretty good, being priced under 100 and averaging 106 for the year. So if you held him for the year, you'd be pretty happy. Nick Martin was great. Obviously, Ollie Wines wasn't a great starting pick. A lot of us might have jumped off him after 1 or 2 weeks. McKercher was very good until he got injured. Roberts was great. Sanders was just frustrating with Bevo. Gawn and Grundy. Obviously, Gawn was great. Grundy obviously frustrating. Heaney was obviously a great starting pick. Fisher, he was probably very frustrating for a lot of coaches, regardless of some good scores he went up, because a lot of people would have brought him in 2 or 3 times throughout the year. So very frustrating. James Jordan was okay, but probably didn't do quite enough than what we wanted. Sexton was good, was bad, got dropped, came back in, was great. We'll jump back on him. So and then Reed and Wilson were solid rookies until we started with them. So but yeah, they were. Any sort of misses from you, Tim, that you didn't start with, that you sort of like, you wish you probably started with them instead, or?
Well, like I said, Max Gawn. Mine
would have been obviously Cherry, but I went Grundy to him in round 2 anyway, so it was fine.
Yeah, look, I think I was throwing up Matt Crouch with Ollie Wines. I wish I'd gone Matt Crouch, although he did get injured early, but I think his start for his price would have been worth it.
Yeah, Matt Crouch is actually another one. I traded out before the season started. I had him in my team all preseason, but I was worried about the Crows midfield mix.
The other one, I was deciding between Jordan Clark and Christian Salem. And I told myself to go Christian Salem because of the midfield role. And that was a miss as well, because obviously, I mean, if you remember, Jordan Clark came out and did what was it, about 5 or 6 rounds where he scored 96, 97, 98 or something along those lines. And then he put some big scores in there as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Jordan Clark was the one I had as well, and changed to Salem was probably one. Probably shouldn't have. We got one here from HP. He says, late update, finished 101. Give me the mug. So he finished 101 overall. So you got the mug. So there you go. At least HP, mate, you got it. So congrats for 101. Obviously, but then at the same time, commiserations on not quite getting the 100 hat. But, mate, you get the mug that only one person can get.
I think the mug might be more coveted.
Yeah, because you get what? Number 1 gets a Hilux, and number 101 gets the mug. So you're one of the only people that gets the mug, mate. So congrats on that. Just got a couple of some nice comments here as well in the chat. So Caleb 5, thanks for all the content. It definitely helped along the way. Thank you very much, mate. Baden Cummins Green, who was up there at the start. I know he had a tricky sort of back half of the year. Said, great year of content. You do a mountain of work, boys. I'm sure everyone appreciates it. So thanks, mate. Sean Lawson, who's a coach of Henry's Heroes, finished 24th overall. So congrats, mate, on that one there. Baden said, trade that hurt me the most, round 11, Cherry to Marshall. Cherry went 120, Marshall 63, had the C on him. Upgrade cost was 200K, held on to rank number 1 for a bit, but halted all sorts of momentum in future trades. And that's what I mean. Like, I know that people say, oh, Bails, you can't keep saying about the Cherry to Sweet trade in round 7 or 8. You can't say that's the reason you didn't finish top 100 or whatever, but it's the domino effect. I had a look at it. I traded Bonner at his buy, but if I didn't trade Cherry, I wouldn't have then grabbed Marshall in round 11, which meant I would have traded Bonner, which would have meant you got rid of him. Cash Gem would have kept going. I wouldn't have had to pay $1 million for Cherry. So, yeah, I definitely can fill that, Baden, for that. Obviously, just you would right up there at number 1, though. So, yeah, mate. But great season regardless. You're still on that number 1 spot for a fair bit there. Jason, I said, thanks for all the insights, Bails and Guesty and Luke and Mitch have helped me a lot all year. Finished number 32 overall, or barring a late change, happy to wear Embly's number. So congrats, mate, on the finish there. I'm just having a quick look. So, yeah.
Speaking of the West Coast Eagles, nothing made me happier today than watching a former Eagle put a nail in bloody Fremantle's coffin, Willie Rioli, with a couple of late goals. Sorry to the Freo fans out there, but, I haven't got much to be happy about this year.
Exactly. Sean says, Bails, you work super hard. It helps us all. Cheers, man. Thanks, mate. Very much appreciated. Baden Cummins Green has to be shout out to friend of the show. Tom would have to be hurting. Yeah, exactly. It's as I said, he still get a decent price for second, though, but obviously you want that number 1 hat. But he's had a great year regardless, so he's been fantastic. We got any other just quick comments here? Angelo Tavaridis says that's what Guesty looks like.
Last show of the year, I thought I'd get on, all right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, a few people saying that they won their grand finals as well. So yeah, obviously I was pretty happy. I won my DT Shiver grand final as well. So I'm very, very happy with that there. LM7, thanks to the content, lads. First time watching AFL and fantasy, so you boys helped along the way. Thanks very much for that, mate. Very much appreciated. Appreciate all the kind words and that. So I'm not going to ask you, Tim, who you're looking at any targets for next year, because safe to say you're going to be like, nah, I want to take a break. So I'll do my own video doing who I'm looking at next year. But plenty of people I've already jotted down already, because you know me, I can't do trades this week, so we've got to look at what I can do with terms of starting. So Tim Osher's got another super chat. He says, who do you guys think will make the grand final? It's a good question footy-wise, Tim. Who do you reckon is going to make the grand final?
Jesus, you think with the prelim, finishing top 2, that gives Port a bloody good shot, right? That away game in Adelaide, that gives them a good shot. I don't know. I haven't really actually now that the finals have settled, I haven't actually really thought about it. But what do you any thoughts for you, Buzz?
Yeah, I think it'll be. I think it might be potentially be a all Sydney grand final. I just think I know Giants lost today, but they had a few guys out.
Bloody Giants, hey.
Giants were the form team of the back half of the year. I think they won like 9 in a row or something. Then obviously they lost today, and I still think Sydney, when they'll get Papley back, they'll get a couple of guys back. I think Justin McInerney will be back. I think that they'll go quite well. So you've got like Sydney played Giants in the first one of the qualifying finals, and Port Geelong. So if the winner of that could still play the other team in the grand final. So I still think it's set up for those, but I think Port and Geelong has been top 4 or a shout, and also Hawthorn. Hawthorn.
I was going to ask how far you reckon Hawthorn Dogs are going to get.
Well, I think they could go quite well. They're going to be certainly that team that. Do they do a Dogs of 2016? Come from the bottom 4 of the top 8, and they got the form. So it'd be crazy. Part of me hopes not, because Hawthorn were meant to be rebuilding. They're not meant to be back in the finals already. But no, they've done very well. So, and then obviously Carlton sneaking in. They might get Doherty back, and obviously they're going to get a heap of players back. And I said Carlton star of the year. So who knows? Dogs are in form as well, and Brisbane have been good. So it is set up for a pretty good final.
It's going to be some good footy. That's actually one of the things I'm really looking forward to, is having no fantasy, is actually being able to watch footy for footy's sake. And, mate, it is going to be such a close finals campaign. So, I'm looking forward to watching some footy.
Yeah. Beautiful. Well, as we wrap up, because I don't know if we'll get Chris back on. I don't think we will. But congrats, obviously, as well to Chris for winning it all. I'm sure that we'll talk to him at some point again soon as well. But sort of, Tim, sort of just your overall thoughts on the year for the podcast. Like, obviously, we've second year running. Obviously, we've added the Tuesday night Q&As as well. We've put the Friday pre-lockout chats on podcast forms as well. We're live 3 times a week, and the support from everyone's been fantastic this year. So just so your thoughts on the season for the podcast.
Mate, look, I was actually I was going to have a look. I don't know. I mean, I'm glad we've got Jordox on, just because the amount of content that's going out at the moment. I looked on, I think, Spotify, and I think we've got something like 123 episodes we put out. It's been ridiculous what we've done. I mean, just on the podcast alone, 225,000 listens. I don't know, YouTube and all that kind of stuff. And we've still got AFLW Fantasy to go. So, I'm blown away by it. And look, on that, I mean, if you're still listening to the pod at this deep into the season and this deep into the pod after the final round, I mean, you are obviously an AFL Fantasy Fanatic as well. So, just thanks for joining us all year. Thanks for joining us live. Thanks for all the comments. Thanks for the super chats. Thanks for, just thanks for all your support. Like I said, I mean, I'm just absolutely blown away by, what it is that we've done. I mean, Infinite Wealth, I must admit, early on, a little bit hesitant to kind of, how are we going to get involved? Are we, we just kind of throwing money here away or something along those lines? But the community's really gotten behind it. And, we're very proud to be part of it as well. And like I said, I'm super stoked. Very, very grateful. Just to, I guess, let everyone in on a little bit of a secret, but I often laugh and joke with people about, like, I talk to them about how I have this podcast that's kind of like massive, and of course everyone immediately thinks that it's finance or investment related or something along those lines. But when I tell them it's fantasy footy, they like look at me strangely and like, what? Most people don't even know what fantasy footy is, right? So, but I love it. I love that. This is something that. Because to be perfectly honest, I'd be bored as batshit talking about finance every week. I love the fact that I get to do this and I get to do it about something that I really love and something that's as much fun as AFL Fantasy. And I get to do it with someone like you, Bails, someone who's so passionate and, put so much hard work and effort into everything he does. I'm very lucky I get to be a passenger on this ride. I think that's the way I feel about it.
Thanks, mate. It's been a great year for the pod. Obviously, we've, as you say, we've had well over 200,000 podcast listens over across the 2 seasons. That's obviously not including YouTube and stuff where people tune in live on the Fridays or the Sundays / Mondays for a couple of early ones in the season. The Tuesday night Q&As, which people really seem to enjoy as well. And not only that, but even the people that just tune into like the other videos as well, like even just my trade talks or the captain's videos or whatever it's been, obviously blown away by the support. Like we're nearly at 3,000 subscribers. And if someone said to me we'd be at 3,000 subscribers after not even 2 years, I'm pretty blown away. So, it's been obviously incredible. As you said, appreciate everyone that's tuned in live to not only tonight, but just throughout the season and sent through super chats or has shared the podcast around with friends and stuff. And sort of any comments, even interactions just with people putting in the chat, gather round as well, like having
gather round, mate. That was so much fun.
And getting people coming up and saying appreciate everyone, appreciate the pod and stuff like that and whatever. So it's incredible support from you guys. It's been fantastic, and we'll obviously looking forward to gather round next year as well, and looking forward to next year. But we do, I still have AFLW fantasy coming up with the season, so we'll still be doing content for that. It'll be myself, Jaden, and Mitch from Ball Boys is joining us as well for the season. Probably won't be on every single episode just because how busy he is outside, but whichever ones he can make, he'll be jumping on. So it'll be pretty good to have both those guys on and chatting throughout the season, and I'm sure we'll get maybe some guest appearances from the guys at Free Kick at some point as well. So if you guys haven't registered for that, make sure you do get an AFLW fantasy team, and starts on Thursday. It's good fun. It's 10 weeks. It's just going to be good fun if you still want your fantasy addiction for next few weeks there. And we do have an open league as well, AFLW Fantasy Fanatics. If you want to join that, then feel free. But just the support's has been fantastic. So very much appreciate all that. So, righty, Tim, I reckon we'll probably sign off from here.
Mate, great year. Well done. Thanks to everyone. And look, just to like I said before, if you guys haven't given us a 5-star review, that would be very much appreciated. If you haven't followed or subscribed, we'd really appreciate it if you do that. It really does help us out as a podcast getting spread. Mate, what have you got next? What's the next content that people can expect from us?
So throughout the AFLW season, we'll be doing sort of coming out on Tuesdays. So we'll be doing like a weekly recap. We're still not undecided if it's going to be live on a Monday or if it's going to be just pre-recorded, and we'll sort of release it on the Tuesday. But we do have our usual Friday pre-lockout chat. It's the exact same as the men's. An hour and a half before the games start, we'll be live chatting and answering a heap of your questions as well. So we'll be doing plenty of that sort of stuff. And if anyone does want extra content like captains or trade talk or anything like that, then always keen to do more stuff like that. So if you guys want that, but I'll also be doing watch alongs for hopefully all of the AFL finals games as well. So if you just want to chill and just watch the finals games with me, then we'll be doing that on the channel as well. So make sure you guys tune into that as well.
All right. Well, people will be seeing you soon, but I'm going to sign off until 2025 because you won't be hearing from me about AFL fantasy until
we might hear you around Christmas time, mate. You never know. If we get a AFL fantasy open, we might do a cheeky one.
Yeah, maybe. We often don't do a recording until the new year though, but we'll see. Look, until the game opens, right? So once again, big thanks from me to everyone out there for all their support, and of course for all the people that have supported also my business, Infinite Wealth. I very much appreciate that. Guys, have a great year, and I'll speak to you all soon. Thanks a lot. I'm out.
Beautiful. Thanks, guys.